Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. On this channel, I talk a lot about right to repair, the idea that you should be able to fix what you own, and that companies should not go out of their way to sabotage your ability to fix your own things. And sometimes the pushback that I get is, well, that person's an idiot, they should have just not bought that product. Buy something repairable. And 50 years ago, I would say 100%. I agree with you. Today, the reason I disagree with that is because virtually every company in every industry takes some practices to try and destroy your ability to repair what you own, whether it's not making schematics available to authorized service centers, whether it is not allowing anybody to become an authorized service center, making sure that chips, parts, and everything are not actually purchasable, or sometimes just outright sabotaging you by actually destroying your device. And that's what this company that we're going to talk about today did. What they did is head and shoulders above, 10 times worse than anything that Apple has ever done. And we're going to discuss why. What they did is they said that a device was repairable. When they accepted the device, they said we cannot fix it, not because it is unfixable or dangerous, but because it is 1 year outside the cutoff. That was the only excuse provided. Rather than send the device back to the gentleman who sent it in, they destroyed it. They stabbed it, they cut the wires, and they made sure that nobody could fix it, even if they wanted to. Not only does this company not make parts available, they actually destroyed the gentleman's device. So let's go over. I'm going to play a video that he sent me.
Hey everyone, I've been a Biomed tech for a couple years now, and we deal with contractors, vendors. We're always dealing with outside companies to help us get our job done. And I don't think I've had a worse experience than I've had working with Eitan Medical, manufacturer of the Sapphire pump. I'm not making this video to shame on Eitan Medical. A lot of the staff that I've worked with has been super courteous and respectful. I just don't agree with some of their repair practices, which I'm going to talk about today. So we have one of their Sapphire epidural pumps, and this particular pump was experiencing some intermittent occlusion issues. Basically, the nurse would use it on the patient. It would run for a good half a day before giving an occlusion alarm. The nurse would go check that the line was not actually occluded, and this kept happening for a couple weeks. So they called me in to start troubleshooting it. I did everything that I could. I tried changing the tubing set, making sure we have brand name OEM tubing, adjusting the occlusion sensitivity. They have an option for that on the pump. And not only that, but I even contacted their clinical support team to make sure that the nurse was using the pump properly per Eitan instructions. None of this worked. So the next logical step would be, hey, let's send this device in for repair to the manufacturer, Eitan. And the only reason I say that is because Eitan does not sell replacement or repair parts. The only thing that you're getting out of Eitan is power cable, maybe a charger, charging dock, that or a brand new pump.
Does any of this sound familiar, by the way? The whole idea that you can't get anything from the manufacturer, even if you are a professional service center, that they will sell you nothing, that they will do everything they can to ensure that you just buy a new one. Does this sound familiar to any other industry, any other company?
Other than that, you're not getting repair parts from Eitan. And they actually have the supply chain locked down to where you can't even find these parts online. And us as biomed techs, this is always our last resort to send something for depot repair. We always try to fix stuff on our own, especially if we can stock parts. It not only reduces the cost of repair to the hospital, but it reduces downtime. We're able to get the device quicker back to the customer. However, with the Sapphire pumps, we're not able to do this, and our only option is to send it to Eitan or one of their authorized repair centers. And that's precisely what I did. So I sent it into them. I get an email back about a month later regarding the status of my repair, and Eitan had actually deemed it unrepairable due to the fact that it's manufactured more than 7 years ago. This pump is 8 years old, by the way. Yeah, just to know, Eitan sets a serviceable lifespan for these pumps at 7 years. If anything happens to these pumps after 7 years, they will not offer service unless it is something simple, which they deem a level 1 repair, meaning it's either a case or a screen replacement. The pump that I had sent in was sent in due to an occlusion error. This had nothing to do with the case or screen. Now, my first issue is, why did you guys let me send this in? You knew that I was sending it in for an occlusion error. You took the serial number over the phone and you could have verified, hey, this pump is more than 7 years old. It's not a case, it's not a screen, it's an occlusion error. They should have known straight off the bat that they were not going to be able to service this pump. But instead, they still let me send it in. This not only wasted my time, it wasted their time, wasted my shipping cost, along with their shipping cost as well. So ultimately, it wasn't the most efficient process, just to begin with. So about a month goes by, and I get this box in the mail. This was the pump that I had originally sent in for an occlusion issue. And included was a service report where they stated that due to the fact that it was 7 years old, just like in their email, that they would not be able to service or repair it. That's okay. The issue was when I tried to turn the pump on, they slapped a big old sticker on front that says, "Device is out of order. It's unsafe to use this device or any of its components. Please dispose of the device in accordance with applicable environmental laws." I tried turning it on. Nothing happened. I checked the battery on the back. Maybe they unplugged it for shipping reasons. Who knows? Battery was intact. Nothing was working. So I was like, let me just open this up. This is what I found inside my device. Keep in mind, this is not a rental. This is something that we outright purchased and should own. We should have the right of ownership. So not only did they cut the connection going to the battery, they nicked the wires going to the motor. Someone went ham on this. They shoved a flathead screwdriver through this ribbon cable. And to top it off, this part has nothing to do with the part of the device that detects for occlusions. They cut the screen cable. They absolutely demolished this. This pump will never turn on again, especially due to the fact that they don't sell replacement parts and no one is able to fix these other than Eitan or their authorized service centers. And one thing to note is that Eitan's authorized service centers are very limited in the repairs that they can do. It's much like, if not identical, to Apple's authorized repair program, but that's another story. At this point, I was very frustrated, so I ended up sending an email to the authorized repair center that Eitan had forwarded my pump to. I essentially asked them, "Hey, I got this pump back from repair, and I noticed that all the wires were literally destroyed inside." They assured me that once they saw it was over 7 years old, they sent it back to Eitan, and they told me Eitan does this to protect its liability, because if someone were to repair the pump and something happened, it would be Eitan's liability. It would be Eitan's fault. And I didn't quite understand this because, in my head, when I think about it, I feel like if anything were to happen, this very document, which I have a record of and Eitan has a record of, would shift the liability onto myself. And especially if something happened to it, who do you think they're going to trust? The company that manufactured the device, the company that knows everything about it? I mean, they made it. Or just some random hospital tech. So with this information...
Now, when it comes to destroying stuff, I can almost kind of get in certain situations. So for instance, there are times where people have sent in a device, they've sent in a machine, and we know that the reason this got damaged was because the screen cable was bad and pins either 2 and 3 were shorting inside of the screen cable. And we'll call them and say, by the way, if you want to do the screen cable replacement yourself after we fix the board to save money, that's fine, just don't plug this back in. And the person on the other end will say, is there any way that I can guarantee that the person reassembling it doesn't plug it in by mistake, so we have to send it back to you? And I'll say, well, I could cut the cable so that he can't reuse it, prompting him, even if he's, forgot to read the notes or whatever, to put a new cable on there. And they'll go, okay, can you do that? And I'll go, sure. So sometimes with the consent of the customer, which is, again, the consent, and a concept that these manufacturers don't understand with their rapist fucking mentality that we own you, consent, then we will cut the cable. Without the customer's consent, this is a fucking crime. And this company owes this man a new pump or his money back.
I contacted Eitan themselves to see if they can maybe provide me a statement. And I just simply asked them, hey, do you guys cut the cables inside your deemed unsafe total loss pumps? Is this to protect Eitan's liability, or what's the reason behind this? I got a call from a guy at Eitan, and he told me, I quote, "This is for your liability, not ours." So I asked him, can you please send me that in an email? Like, please, just something in writing. Can you email me that? And he said, sure, yeah, sure thing. The next day, no email. So I follow up. I asked, hey, do you guys have some sort of customer letter, some sort of confirmation email that explains why you guys destroy pumps that are not yours? No response. And that was the last of my
One piece of advice to this gentleman: I have a 22-part series on YouTube on how to set up your own business phone system with call recording, and I highly suggest that everybody do so when calling companies, lobbyists, or state governments, because you never know when those call recordings may come in handy when somebody tries to gaslight you in the manner that they're trying to gaslight this gentleman over here.
Contact with Eitan Medical. To sum it up, I had sent Eitan a working pump, and they sent me back a brick that would never turn on again. And my favorite example to use is, if you brought your car into the dealership, does the dealer just slash all your tires if your tread's too low? No, they inform you, hey, I noticed your tread was too low. We're not going to demolish your car because the tread was too low, but we'd like to, recommend, hey, maybe get some replacement tires and leave the liability to you. We're not toddlers. We don't need choices of liability being made for us by some company. We're all adults here, and we can deal with our own issues. A lot of companies nowadays like to hide behind the argument of safety and security and think of the children. Those third-party guys, oh, they won't do a good job because they're trying to hack your machine.
This guy watches his stuff.
Imagine a world where we were provided all the service documentation, we're provided replacement parts, we're provided knowledge on how to fix the things that we own. Do you still think that companies would be using safety as an argument? Because what they do is they gatekeep all this knowledge and then blame it on us on why we don't know how to fix something. And the other important thing that I want people to realize is, who has the monetary incentive to sell you a new device compared to who has the monetary incentive to offer a better repair service? A lot of companies nowadays are using artificial repair restrictions and then blaming us on why we can't fix it, and then using the safety and security argument to then say that we're criminals. I just really want to share my story because it puts it into comparison. Think about what would happen if you or myself were to get someone's device, let's say your phone, and destroy it. What repercussions would that have? And now look at it from what happened to me. What repercussions does this company have? I'm sure this has happened to a lot of other customers. I'm sure it's made a lot of other customers upset, but I don't think other customers have been able to, share it to the public. And it's not that technology has become so advanced that we're unable to fix our own devices anymore. It's due to the fact that companies like Eitan Medical impose artificial repair restrictions and then say that it's about our safety. And practices like this are so wasteful. It not only wastes the consumer's money, but it contributes to our gigantic e-waste problem. 99% of e-waste ends up in a landfill, usually in a poor African country where they just dump it all. And to make money there, they burn off all the plastic, releasing toxic black fumes into the atmosphere. But Eitan wants to talk about safety. Companies will tell you that, oh, you can't fix this because technology is so advanced. And my ultimate counter argument, and the thing I want you guys to leave this video with, is with new technology comes new technicians. We will always be able to fix our stuff unless companies stop imposing these artificial repair restrictions. It's absolutely nonsense. Hey everyone, I've been a Biomed tech for
So he knows his stuff. He's been following this whole right to repair saga across numerous different industries for a long time. And I commend him. And I strongly believe that what Eitan Medical did to him was against the law and illegal. And they should be made famous for it. Again, it's one thing to say, we examine this device. As a result of these flaws being present, we believe that there would be a serious risk of injury or personal harm if this were ever put into use again. Because of that, we are going to destroy it. I'm not saying that it's right. There's probably an argument to be had there one way or the other, but I could at least understand the justification there. What they did is they said, this device is 8 years old. We only support it for 7 years. Therefore, we are going to destroy the screen. We are going to destroy this ribbon cable. We're going to stab at it and then send it back to you with an FU. By the way, make sure you dispose of this in an environmentally safe way because we care so much about the environment. We care so much about the environment that we just destroyed something that's fixable so that you buy a new one. Like, that's just a fuck you on top of it all. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. And remember, this is about so much more than just MacBooks and John Deere tractors. Every industry, every area. If you want to know why healthcare costs are so high in this country, it's because this is what we do when there's a problem with a pump.